come take everyone inside. And the surprising thing was Abu Bakr was there. And so that was very surprising that Abu Bakr heard what Abu Hurairah said. So years went on, and one day he was in Yemen, and this was the same year the Prophet got his first message from Allah, but it was before the first revelation. So he was in Yemen, and then
What's that? CD Suleiman is here. Yeah, see?
Doctor?
Okay. He did that.
The doctor?
no, not the doctor.
Go ahead.
And so
We wanted to bring at least one person from like California.
he went to like some guy in Yemen, basically a famous like a scholar, but not really the scholars of Muslim, but they believed in an upcoming prophet. And so one day he invited Abu Bakr, and then he said, what's your name? And then he said, my name's Abu Bakr, of course. And then he said, what tribe are you from? What city do you come from? He said, Mecca. And so he said, what tribe do you come from? And he said, Quraysh. And then he said this really weird thing that Abu Bakr was surprised, and he said, show me your belly. And so Abu Bakr said, I cannot do that. And then he was like, I need to know if you are this so-and-so guy. And so Abu Bakr just ended up showing his belly, and there was a birthmark right next to his belly button. And so he kissed Abu Bakr on his hands and his feet, and that is kind of weird, but hey. He kissed Abu Bakr on his hands and feet, and then he said, you will be the best, a prophet will be received and will be in Mecca, and you will be his strongest companion, like his strongest believer. And so when he was coming back to Mecca, he was coming back to Mecca, and then the Prophet received his got his message, and then he came into the city of Mecca, and he heard these people talking about how Muhammad is talking about he saw an angel in the middle of the night, and it's like the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is going weird. And then Abu Bakr quickly went to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's house, and he said, yeah, Muhammad, is what the people saying true? And so then he said, yes. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, yes. And then Abu Bakr said, do you have proof that you saw an angel last night? And then he said, the person you met in Yemen. Now, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how would he know a conversation between one guy from another in Yemen? And that was such a miracle that was blessed to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Abu Bakr quickly said, I believe in Allah and you are his messenger. And that's how he was the first man to convert to the religion of Islam. So on the upcoming years, and one of the stories was Abu Bakr was praying in the Kaaba, praying in the Kaaba area, and then some people was starting to beat Abu Bakr, Allahu Anhu, and he was bleeding so hard. They like broke his nose and a bunch of fragile stuff, and he was bleeding all over the place. He was really wounded, and he was just out of control, and he just fell down unconscious. And the family of Abu Bakr took him to their house, and they were giving him water and stuff. And then his family came down to the Kaaba and said, well, the main person that was doing this was Utbah, and Utbah later died in the Battle of Badr. So he was like, they said, I swear to God, if Abu Bakr died, I'm going to kill Utbah. And so, but Abu Bakr didn't die, subhanAllah, and he woke up, and then he was like, where's Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's right? All right. And then he was terribly ruined, and aren't you gonna ask about yourself? Was his mom thinking? And I was like, aren't you gonna say, am I all right? But instead he's saying, is Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam all right? But then he was like, so he was keep asking me this, and then his mother was like, calm down, son, calm down. And then she recognized that he wasn't going to be satisfied until, he was gonna know that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was all right. So she went to find somebody. Well, this woman who lived, she was secretly a Muslim, but she didn't want to tell anybody. So she asked her, do you know anything about Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? And then she said, no, I do not. I'm like, why, of course not? Because she didn't want to tell Muslim, because it was a secret back then to know that it was a really hard thing. If you're a Muslim, you're basically, yeah. And so she said, I won't know, even though she really did know. And then she was like, she saw that Abu Bakr's mother was all worried and stuff, and then she was like, what's wrong? And it's like, my son is bleeding, but she wants to know how is Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam all right. So they both went to Abu Bakr, and she saw that Abu Bakr was really wounded, and she decided to say, oh, I'm Muslim, and I swear by Allah I'm Muslim, and that Muhammad is all right, and he's at the House of Aqaba. The House of Aqaba was the main place that the Muslims used to worship in Mecca. The House of Aqaba was near the Kaaba, so that's where they basically prayed at. So they went to the House of Aqaba, and he saw that he was alright. Muhammad was very, very, very sad to know that his best friend is not crying, but bleeding all over his body. His nose is broken. The whole body is totally injured. And so he was like, I feel sorry for you. And it was like, he was about to cry. Muhammad was about to cry. And then so Bakr was like, and he was like about to see that Muhammad was about to cry, so he was like, please don't cry, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The only thing I'm asking from you is that my mom can become Muslim. And so he prayed that Abu Bakr's mom would become Muslim, and then she did it right then. Later in the time when Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam rode the Buraq, went to Jerusalem, and then went to the heavens. And he came right back in just a night. And then the people, or the believers, some of the believers was like, that's just crazy. Like, how can somebody go to Jerusalem and then go to the heavens, come right back? And most of the Quraysh were like, Muhammad's out of his mind.
Testing.
And the Quraysh was laughing, and he told Abu Bakr, his really best friend, and he was like, can you still believe Muhammad? And then he was like, yeah, if Muhammad really did it, then he did it. So then that's when he named the title of Siddiq, the honest friend, and it also means something more, I should say powerful than that, but I don't remember the exact name. So that's why he was named Abu Bakr al-Siddiq. Yeah. So, when they went to the Hijra and they had to hide inside the cave for 3 days, and his daughter Esma gave them water and food throughout those 3 nights. And on the 3rd day they left. And then so they went to Medina. So Abu Bakr became a wealthy businessman in Medina. It doesn't, under my studies, I didn't really study about his life in Medina, and I'm very sorry, but if it talks, when I talk about battles of Battle of Badr, the Battle of Uhud, and usually I talk about them when it's like Umar or Talha ibn Ubaidah, Zubair ibn al-Awwam, and other Sahaba. Because I've been living with this little tiny Abu Bakr book for about 3 years. And I've just been focusing off of that, and now I'm trying to go for the big level on Abu Bakr. And I've been reading that thing, and it's for 7 to 9-year-olds, and I'm already 11. So I'm 2 years off. Abu Bakr, when Muhammad went back and took Mecca from the Quraysh, and in 631, the second Hijra, Abu Bakr led it, not Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abu Bakr. And so then a year later, Muhammad died. And so they were like, so Umar was like, if somebody says Muhammad died, I'm going to cut their hands and feet. And Abu Bakr said, surely Muhammad had died, and he is a prophet, and prophets died before him. And then he recited some verses of Surah Bakr, and Umar calmed down, and the people calmed down. And later Umar narrated, I fell down to my feet when I heard these verses. I fell down to my knees when I heard these verses because my feet cannot bear me. So when they were arguing between the Quraysh and the Ansar, Abu Bakr, Abu Ubaidah, and Umar came in and said, what is happening? So Umar said to Abu Ubaidah, and this is really important, he said to, people just say, Umar just said to Abu Bakr, you're the call. But it was mainly that he said to Abu Ubaidah, you be the God. And then, but then he said, no, Abu Bakr is more worthy than me. He's he was the 2 people that was in the cave. He was like the strongest companion out of all of us, and so he should be the next prophet. Not prophet. He should be the next. He should be the first caliph of the Muslims. Khalifas. And so Abu Bakr just took the caliphate and he said some strong words. Now, Muhammad, he sent Usama ibn Zayd to make sure the Muslims in the south of Syria, modern-day Jordan, is not oppressed. Because the Byzantine Empire had Jordan, and so they went up and...
Empire.
Yeah, the Byzantine Empire.
An empire.
Empire.
An umpire. That's the guy in baseball. Sorry.
Empire. The Byzantine Empire had Jordan, and they're mixturing that the Muslims were impressed. So Usama ibn Zayd, people wanted him. The troops are needed here in Medina.
The Byzantines had played baseball. Ottoman Empire.
And because the people were rebelling against this religion, it was like the troops are needed in Medina. And so Abu Bakr was like, no, they need to go, and because Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent them over to Jordan. So they won a victory, and that was the first victory Abu Bakr had during his reign. And so the different battles were fought in East Arabia, and the important battle was the Battle of Yamama. Umar ibn Khattab, brother Zayd ibn Khattab, was slain in battle, and most of the Sahabas were slain in battle. So Umar said, after the battle, the most fantastic thing, the leader of the unbelievers was Muslima, who claimed himself as a prophet. And Washi, the man who killed Hamza, killed Muslima. And it's very, very, very cool, I should say, because he just killed one of the best of companions. And Hamza ibn Abu Talib. Now, then he just came up and said, I'm going to kill somebody who was a rejecter of the faith. So this was a great victory, and so Abu Bakr went up to take Iraq and fought the Persians near Bursa, modern-day Bursa. And it was Bursa back then, but it was a really tiny village back then, just to say. It was very, very small. No walls. They won near Bursa, and they took this city, warrior of faith, and he was named the Sword of Allah by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. And so he was conquesting Iraq, but Abu Bakr suddenly died. And so Umar, that's why Umar's famous of taking Iraq. That's why some not scholars, but history professor in Islamic history, they said that they didn't took Bursa, but they did. So the Battle of Yaman was fought just right after Abu Bakr died, and that was some people believe that the Battle of Yaman was in Abu Bakr, but it was really Umar's. It was really in Umar's, and they are told, they were surprised that Abu Bakr died just like that at the age of 62. And in the Islamic calendar, 63. So, just to talk about Abu Bakr's death. He died in 634, and he wore a white shawl, and he told his family bury him just like that. Not in royal clothing, nothing, just that raggedy thing he was wearing, because he's been wearing it for, I don't know, 17 years. So, he wasn't wearing it for 17 years, that's just ew, but, yeah, 17 years. So anyways, he died, and Umar led his funeral, and then Umar said, he was announced as the next caliph, and Abu Bakr was buried next to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he still is buried next to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that's the end. See you tomorrow. Allahu Akbar. I mean, assalamu alaikum.
Nice job, man.